Hey, everybody. Welcome to the All In podcast. We have an exciting episode today. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure to check out the other video that we posted today. We're doing a fantasy show with our guy, Dave Kluge from Fantasy Pros. He's going to be joining us once again. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, my guy, Eli Cooper. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Excited. We're going to have, like you said, for those of you tuning into the audio version, you'll hear Dave come on and give some fantasy football advice. If you're watching on YouTube, you can catch the replay of that video on our channel as well. Excited for that, but also excited for some major news that came out of the NBA this week.
Yes, so we had to jump on first. Originally, we were just going to do the fantasy show. We saw what was going down in the NBA. We figured we had to talk about it because, we are NBA people first. First, we do want to remind you, we are presented by mybookie.ag. So go to mybookie.ag, use the promo code ALLINPOD. You'll get a 100% sign-up bonus, all types of gambling on mybookie.ag. Sports gambling, really nice for us people in Ohio who cannot access some of the other sites. They've got a really good casino as well, blackjack, roulette, pretty much any kind of casino game you'd want to play. mybookie.ag. Use the promo code ALLINPOD to get a 100% sign-up bonus and to let them know that we sent you. So let's get started with this NBA talk, Coop. First thing, we have to talk blockbuster trade. Two superstars, or at least former superstars, John Wall and Russell Westbrook, basically getting flipped between the Rockets and the Wizards. I think the Wizards also threw in a first-round pick.
Yes.
For the privilege of getting Russell Westbrook instead of John Wall. What were your thoughts about this deal?
So I thought the Rockets won this deal. I thought they won it big time.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is not because they're getting the best player in the deal. They are not. But the 2023 first-round pick, to me, and getting rid of Russell Westbrook's contract was crucial for them. And that the reason I bring up the 2023 pick, because people are like, oh, well, that pick is 3 years away. What does it matter? Well, if there's no change to the current rules of players coming out of high school, right, where they still have to do the one and done, if there's no change to the rules by that 2023 class will feature Imoni Bates, who is a junior right now and will arguably is arguably the best player in high school, regardless of class, and will inevitably be the number one pick in the 2023 class if there is no amendment to the rule of players coming out straight out of high school. So to me, that pick could be worth something. And granted, you don't know that it's going to fall as the number one pick, right? But it could be leverage to get you to move up in the draft or whatever. It could be the number one pick. The Wizards have been pretty bad at times. And with, Russell Westbrook has an injury or, he leaves by then. You never know what could happen with that pick. So stockpiling picks in that draft to me is a plus just in case. You just want to have a shot.
Yeah.
So, that can never be a bad thing. And again, it's, getting rid of Westbrook's contract and getting a similar style of player. I don't want to say level because they're not on the same level in any way, shape, or form. They both play the same style, but Russ is just better at it, right? He's much better at that athletic point guard style of play than John Wall is. You can argue certain aspects of their games, but to me, it was crucial for the Rockets to offload that Westbrook contract. For the Wizards, I don't really know what their thinking is here. Like, I'm trying to figure out what their angle is, how this benefits them. They're not really in a win now mode. They don't have a roster, even with Russell Westbrook, that you really look at and says, this is a contender in the Eastern Conference here. So I'm not sure what their angle is. What do you think is like their, mindset coming into this trade?
To get back in the playoffs. I think if you do this trade, you're probably looking at it and you're thinking, John Wall wants out, as much as he loved DC, quote unquote, and he had a really nice message I saw to DC. He definitely wanted out. And I think the Wizards probably look at it and they think, if we get Russ, I think at minimum we're the 7 seed. I actually don't hate their chances of becoming like in that 5 to 7 seed. Really, I think that's probably the ceiling for them because Brad Beal, as much as he doesn't play defense, and as much as Russell Westbrook doesn't play defense, two really good offensive players.
Right.
And in the East, that doesn't have a ton of offensive loaded teams. I think they could actually be pretty good. Now, I will say this for John Wall. I think this move makes sense for him. I think I like the fit of him in Houston. I might even like that fit a little more than Russell Westbrook in Houston because he does have that similar style of Russell Westbrook, like you talk about.
Right.
And he's probably not as good as Russell Westbrook at it, but I think he's maybe a little bit more comfortable without the ball, and when he gets his opportunities in transition, he'll take them. Coming off his list of injuries, really, I wouldn't be surprised if he's okay with that secondary role. And the other thing, what I would do to be a stripper in Houston right now, to have John Wall coming, teaming up with James Harden, the most notorious strip club fan in the NBA, and then you get John Wall. There's going to be a lot of college tuition paid in Houston in the next year. I'll tell you that right now. So from a Wizards perspective, I think they look at it and they think, kind of like what I mentioned with the Suns and trading for Chris Paul, even though it's not like, Chris Paul's going to put us over the top, win a championship. It's like at some point we got to do something to get back in the playoffs. We got to make a splash. I think Washington likes some pieces they have, actually. I think they really like Rui Hachimura. I think Bertans is, I guess, the best shooter in the league, right? They paid him a ton of money, probably more than what he was worth. But they don't have much more other than that. And with Russ and Beal, but Brian is okay, and they add a couple more pieces. I think they look at it and they think, well, if we're the 5 seed, it's a huge success because I think then they have a real chance to win a first round series. If they get to the second round, it's a wild success because really, if you're measuring Wizards' success over the years, the highlight of the Wizards franchise is probably forcing a Game 7 with the Celtics in was that 2016 when they almost John Wall had that amazing Game 6.
Yeah.
And they took him to Game 7. That's probably the highlight of your career, your Wizards fandom is the second round getting to a Game 7. So I think if you make the second round, it's a huge success. Wall won it out. Westbrook, you kind of just flip the bad deals and hope for some excitement, I guess. So who do you think wins more games this year? Houston or Washington?
Wins more games. I'm going to say Washington because they're going to have, just being in the East alone, they're going to have the easier schedule.
Yeah.
And, obviously Russ is an upgrade from John Wall, just assuming, that they both stay healthy. John Wall has a lot of work to do. He hasn't really played in about 2 years, right? Because of the multiple injuries that he's had. So, he has a lot of rust to shake off anyway. So you can imagine Houston probably getting off to a slow start. I mean, they got off to a slow start when they had Westbrook. You're probably looking at the same thing here. I'm not 100% sold that Houston is a playoff team. Maybe they are, but I don't think their spot is booked after this, in my opinion, because you don't know that John Wall is going to stay healthy for a full season because he's been out for so long. How often do we see a guy come back after 2 years of not playing and be anywhere close to the same guy he was, and let alone being able to play a full in this case, 72 game season that's going to be condensed.
Yeah.
Where there's going to be a little bit more back-to-backs and things like that. So I don't love that. I don't love that for John Wall and for a team that really doesn't have much else besides James Harden. As far as guys who can create their own shot, it doesn't bode well. And then also you got, I did like their Christian Wood signing. I thought that was a decent pickup for them. They picked up Boogie, so they're taking a chance on both of the Kentucky guys who haven't played in forever. So I guess we'll just kind of see how that goes.
Yeah. Well, do you think Harden sticks around, or do you think they're still trying to move him?
Well, to me, this might indicate that they are trying to move him. Because, you don't really make this deal planning to still try to win a championship, if you ask me. So I think they're still kind of in the position where, if we don't get the offer we want for Harden, we'll just keep him and just play it out.
Mm.
And then if not, they will, or if they do get the offer that they want for James Harden, they'll absolutely take it and be like, perfect, let's go back into rebuild mode.
I wonder what that offer is and who it comes from, because you look at the teams that would have a chance to get him. I don't know if the Nets quite have enough. Might have to be a 3-teamer, but
yeah.
And I'll be honest, I'm biased. I love John Wall. I just always have. I don't know. I loved him at high school. I loved him at Kentucky. My first NBA game I ever went to was in Washington. And when Raptors went down there back in like 2013, I think. So I'm a little bit biased towards John Wall, and I hope he has a ton of success in Houston. So, all right. Anything else?
Yeah, last thing. Like, I don't want to make it seem like I don't like John Wall. I do. Like, John Wall was, and throughout his career has been a very good point guard. Yeah. And he's not a severe downgrade from Russell Westbrook or anything like that, but he is a downgrade. But it's just interesting to see how he comes back off of some major injuries. Someone who relied on so much athleticism. I am rooting for him, though. I am.
Yeah, and it depends on the health. He could be better than Russell Westbrook. We don't know. We just haven't seen him so long, and because of the injuries, we kind of have to assume he's not going to be the best version of himself we've ever seen. But it might be. Yeah. I hope he is. Okay, let's move on to the Lakers. A lot of headlines for them, as always. So LeBron signed a 2-year extension. AD signed a 5-year deal.
Yes.
I think that was the huge shock, right? We were kind of expecting a 1+1 or a 2-year deal. And he came out and said, no, let's do it for real. I want the 5-year deal. Thoughts on these guys?
Well, two things. It tells me that LeBron had no plans of retiring after, his contract ended here. I think his contract now runs through 2023, I believe.
Right.
Where it would have ended in 2021, which is one of the things that maybe AD was worried about, right? So this kind of, with both of these deals happening around the same time, this seems like Rich Paul getting two guys in a room, like, what's our plan going forward? And they were both like, let's go all in. You know what I mean? Sure. Let's see how many we can get out of this. Now, AD's contract doesn't necessarily match up with LeBron's, but by the time LeBron's contract is over, I assume at this point that this is LeBron's last contract.
This one?
This one, yeah. I assume that this will be his last contract. Now, granted, Father Time seems undefeated, has that one loss against LeBron so far.
Yeah.
So we'll see how, what his plans are after that. But I still think this kind of gives AD, more incentive to sign long term. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to have LeBron for the first 3 years of this 5-year deal that I'm signing. Yeah. And then I can really kind of reevaluate at the back end in those last 2 years, kind of like you're in a similar New Orleans Pelicans situation where maybe they can replace, let's assume LeBron retires, they replace that max cap slot with whatever star will be available in free agency at that point. And then you kind of go from there to pair it up for the Lakers. So I think it sets the Lakers up well. Now looking long term, if you're trying to attract free agents still, you're like, hey, look, you're going to have an opportunity to come play with Anthony Davis at some point because he's going to be here for 5 years. So it's a win for all parties, for me, which is funny because the last time we talked about this, I said he should sign the 1+1. But now that LeBron has re-signed, I think it's actually it's a good idea.
So let me ask you this: Can I throw out a scenario that might show that it's actually not LeBron's last contract?
Yes.
And I'm going to ask you because I really don't know, and you are the prospect expert. But when is Bronny James NBA draft eligible?
So as of right now, barring any changes to players coming out of high school, he would be 2024.
His draft would be 2024 draft?
He would be in the 2024 draft.
So is that right after the 2023 season?
That would be right after the 2023 season, yes.
So would that?
Or no, I'm sorry. It would be the year after the 2023
Okay.
season.
But if they change it to high schoolers can come out, then maybe it matches
up? He would line up, yes. And
so
that is the overwhelming thought amongst NBA executives. They think it will change by 2022. Okay. So maybe we are looking at something here.
Well, that was my thought. As soon as he signed it, and I'm like, why add 2 years now? Like, because really I look at it and it's like, why did he do this? I'm not really like, he didn't need to do this. And the trend we've seen from these superstars is to not do this.
Yeah.
But if his thought is, and you see AD go all in for 5 years, why doesn't LeBron either one go in for 5 years or wait and see? Like, maybe he's trying to max it up and play with Bronny. If Bronny makes it to the NBA, which I don't. We always talk like that's a given, right? Like
right.
When Bronny makes the NBA, like that's not a given at all.
Right.
But that would be my thought of why he might do it. So let me ask you this, because I agree with all your points. So I don't have too much to add. Okay, they've got AD through the next 5 years, including the one they just won. How many championships? How did they win in the next 5 years?
Well, I would say they're the favorites to win it again in this upcoming season.
Yeah.
I'll
set the over under total championships at 2.5. So include the one they just won, 1.5 more championships.
Okay. So I think I'm gonna take the under.
Okay.
And the only reason why is because LeBron is getting older. And at some point that has to matter. It hasn't so far. At some point that has to matter. Like father time has to kick in at some point. I don't know when. The other thing is it's really hard to win championships in the NBA just because it's so hard to keep rosters together. But to really, they've got one. I think they win another one. Three-peating is probably the hardest thing to do in the NBA. So I don't know that, a 38-year-old LeBron, along with AD and whatever pieces they have at that point is going to be enough to three-peat with how well the West is getting better and better seemingly every year. So I would say I'm going to take the under. I think next year will be probably the last one. I think they make deep playoff runs, right? And, for the rest of LeBron's career, barring any injury and health and stuff like that. But championship-wise, I think they get 2, maybe a loss in the Western Conference Finals or the finals in that third year, and then it kind of starts to fizzle out.
That's about what I was thinking because, I'm thinking if they're going to win more than one more, it kind of has to be the three-peat,
right? Because
of LeBron's age, and I mean, who knows? They could go out and sign or trade for Giannis, and this blows up.
Right.
But just looking at the team they have, it's so hard to do it again. And they're the favorites this year, but they just got done playing 2 months ago.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they're gonna go on this grueling grind again. I think that's really tough to do. So I'd probably go under 1.5 more championships, but I do think they do get one more at some point. If it's not this year, then maybe the year after.
I wonder what kind of odds we can get from my bookie on that.
To three-peat or to win the championship this year?
For them to win it this year.
Oh, you can probably get pretty good, right? I'd say plus 450.
I think I'd take that.
I think I would take that too.
I think I would use the promo code AllInPod to do that too.
What I would do is I would use the promo code AllInPod at mybookie.ag, and then I would go. What you do is you go to the sports book. Okay, you go to NBA. I'm gonna pull it up right now so we can tell the viewers exactly what the odds are. If I can get this to work. Because who are the favorites anyway? I don't know that it's the Clippers. The Mavs are up there. So right now it's on mybookie.ag. You have Lakers plus 250. So 2.5 to 1. You've got Bucks 6 to 1, Clippers 6.5 to 1, Celtics 16 to 1, Heat 18 to 1, Nuggets 18 to 1, Nets 6 to 1. So the Nets actually have tied for the second best odds. And then
that's not bad.
What about this one? The Raptors 25 to 1. I think I might go in on that one. So go to mybookie.ag. Use the promo code AllInPod. Get 100% sign up bonus. Let them know that we sent you, and you can put your futures bet on who's going to win the championship this year. Okay, guys, that is all the NBA stuff we had right now. If you are listening on audio, stay tuned. We'll be right back with Fantasy Pro expert Dave Kluge. If you are watching on YouTube, head over to that video on our channel. Subscribe while you're there and turn on notifications so you know when we go live, which we are about to do with this video. We'll be right back, guys.
See you guys.